There is an update to the Palworld lawsuit from Nintendo. I feel like I'm missing something here because I feel like there's a piece of this puzzle that I'm not privy to, but we'll talk about it. Exile, thank you.
37 months. That's a long time.
37 months. Exile's been subbed over on Twitch. That is crazy. Pogs in the chat. Okay, let me show you, because I feel like I might be out of the loop on this, but on November 8th, Pocket Pair announced the Pokemon Company and Nintendo are demanding 10 million yen, or roughly $66,000, which will be split between both companies, plus late payment damages. This comes after the Pokemon Company filed a patent infringement lawsuit against Pocket Pair back in September 19th of 2024. The suit aims to seek compensation for damages that Pocket Pair allegedly caused as a result of the infringement of the Pokemon IP. Quote, this lawsuit seeks an injunction against infringement and compensation for damages on the ground that Palworld, a game developed by the defendant, infringed multiple patent rights, they wrote in their press release. They have not disclosed the specific infringement details. Neither company's revealed those details. Experts believe one of the 3 patents infringed revolves around throwing an item to catch a monster. Giving their update, Pocket Pair explained, quote, the plaintiffs claim that Palworld, released by us on January 19th of 2024, infringes upon the following 3 patents held by the plaintiffs and are seeking an injunction against the game and compensation for a portion of the damages incurred between the date of registration of the patents and the date of filing for this lawsuit. They continued, quote, we will continue to assert our position in this case through future legal proceedings. The developer also noted that they will now refrain from responding to individual inquiries regarding the case. If any matters arise that require public notice, we will announce them on our website, etc. I think there's 2 pieces to this. For one, they are demanding $66,000 roughly, which is shockingly low, right? Like, that's not that many copies of Palworld, and Palworld sold a lot. So there's that. This really is not much. The key here is that they specifically are seeking an injunction, which could lead to, there's different meanings behind that, but it could easily lead to the game being discontinued from sale, them shutting it down. But more than anything, it sounds to me like they would be seeking a precedent. If they can get them to pay this out, then there's potentially a precedent for future claims against Palworld specifically, or other companies that try to do similar things. The other piece of this is that we don't know the specific details of the infringement. So for example, a lot of these lawsuits, at least in the States, they require specific damages to be described. So if I'm going to sue you for doing something, for infringing on something, I have to, if I'm seeking monetary damages or compensation, I have to be able to say how I was harmed, what you did. So if it was somebody was, another YouTuber made an AI avatar of me and started making videos where they pretended to be me and they were making videos that I would have made otherwise, and that cost me the monetization of those videos and other exposure of those videos, I could then do some math on how much my videos would have made if they had not been infringed in that way, and the amount of money I lost, and then I could sue for that damage. And then you could also seek punitive damages also to make a point, but that's usually tougher to get. Here, for whatever reason, they think that they have garnered roughly $60,000 in damages, which is not a lot. So I'm really wondering what their arguments are in court, because it's such a low amount of money. My guess would be they are spending more money than that on lawyers by a pretty sizable margin. That would be my guess, is that they are spending a lot. And so even if they get this payout, I don't think they're ending up ahead or anything. This is more to make a point. And I think that they pretty clearly are seeking the precedent more than they're seeking the actual payout. They want to get the foundation laid for future lawsuits going after people for these types of infringements. And I think that's sucky. I think that just is lame, because I don't think you should be able to patent gameplay mechanics. That to me seems so anti-competitive. That seems so stupid to me, but they've been allowed to do it. They've been allowed to patent things like the Nemesis system from the Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War games. They were allowed to patent that. And now Pokemon and Nintendo, they're trying to patent things like throwing balls to capture monsters. That's crazy. Like, I understand it's sort of a well-known Pokemon mechanic, but I think that, again, enabling a company to lock down a gameplay mechanic is such a mess. Like, what are we going to do? Like, Call of Duty's going to patent reloading guns? Like, I don't think we want to start playing this game. Is this filed in Japan? Yeah. So that's where there's nuance that I'm not aware of, because I'm not Japanese. I don't know Japanese laws or rules around this stuff. So there might be, this might be a slam dunk in Japanese courts. It might be way more complicated in Japanese courts. But I do think it's interesting that they've only filed it there and they're not trying to file it in different courts around the world. Because I think in the US, this lawsuit would flop on its face. And I think they know that, which is why they didn't bother trying it. They're trying, they're still doing it. I mean, I see this, that's it, just pay that shiz and move on. I think the point is you can't just pay it. This is what they're seeking out of the court. So if Palworld's lawyers went to them and said, okay, we're willing to pay that just to shut this down, the judge, at least in the US systems, the judge could basically say, okay, we're going to resolve the case, and that becomes a legal precedent for future cases that they can look on. And that's, again, like, oh, so they were willing to agree, they infringed on this, and therefore they need to pay monetary damages. That means next year when they release Palworld 2 or whatever, they can get sued again. And there's now a precedent that judges and people can point to and be like, yeah, see, back then they already agreed that they infringed, and then they paid us money for damages on infringing it. So see, they agreed with us back then. That's why, even though the money is low, it's not really about that payout. It's about the precedent. And that's why I would not go along and pay it. Even though it's not that much money in the context of how much they made, I would not acquiesce, which it doesn't seem like they are. It seems like they're going to continue to fight and negotiate. And the only way they should is if they can pay that out while agreeing that they made no mistakes, while agreeing that, while admitting no guilt. I think that that's the only way to do this. Apple's done that before. Google's done that before. They will plead in a lawsuit, like basically an Alford plea, where they'll say, we are not admitting guilt. We're not saying we did anything wrong, but we're going to pay out on this class action lawsuit or something. And the victims get their payouts and are happy. But I think that that's the key. Whether Nintendo allows that, I doubt it. Because again, I think the only thing Nintendo's interested in is that precedent. So we'll keep an eye on it, but I don't think that they're gonna pay it out or agree to that unless they can say we didn't do anything wrong, but we're just paying this to go away. But I don't think Nintendo's going to let that happen. Samaya, it's funny, in Yakuza Infinite Wealth, you have to catch a Sujimon, which is inspired by Pokemon. To be fair, Sujimon don't look like Pokemon. Yeah, but even that, like, if you allow the precedent that you can copyright certain things, where like, oh, you have to go and capture a monster. Like, even that is something that they could file a lawsuit over. Like, it's just, they shouldn't do this. They shouldn't even start this. It's such a mess. They really shouldn't. Nissan, thank you for that. Nintendo will patent video games if given the choice. Video game equivalent of Yakuza. Friendly kid appearance is just a corpo shield. Yeah, I really think that's the thing. Nintendo are some of the most cutthroat, hardcore corporate sharks you'll ever meet. They're not your friend. Like, they make silly, goofy games, but they are some of the most cutthroat people you'll ever see on the corporate stage. Like, they want to... They've tried previously to silence criticisms. There were all sorts of stories years ago of like YouTubers making critical reviews and then having having copyright claims filed against them to shut it down. But all the positive videos somehow didn't get copyright claims. Like, there's all sorts of stories that are pretty horrifying, but everybody's like, well, but it's Nintendo. What about Mario? And people just ignore it. But like Nintendo, they're not. Yeah, it's like Japanese Disney. Yeah, they have a positive image somehow, but once you look under the hood, like, it's pretty horrifying. they're not. Yeah, it's not a company run by Mario. It's pretty hardcore. They do not mess around.
He took my thing. Red flag, red flag.